Hi, I'm Fred, and you're watching Homo Ludens, the channel History and Board Games. Welcome to our first ever top 10 historical board games of 2024, as voted by the Homo Ludens community. Over the past few weeks, supporters of the Homo Ludens channel submitted their three favorite historical games of the year. Not just games with soldiers on the boxes or tanks, but games that have history baked into them, whether it's a crunchy war game or a clever political game. If it's built based on real events and thoughtful design aimed at representing history, it was fair game. I've tallied the votes, crunched the numbers, and created a ranking. At the very top, we'll be awarding our now very prestigious, it's completely fake, but completely prestigious Golden Luddite. So the top three games will have this Golden Luddite Award of the year. Now, before we begin, yes, your favorite game will certainly be missing from this top 10, or it might be scandalously low, and that's completely fair. That's a sort of democracy where you have to pay to vote, which is fine. It's a way for the community to live, but also to share what they expect from historical board gaming. So, if you want to change this, well, there is a good solution. You can subscribe to the channel, donate on Coffee, and become part of our community. Let's get into it.
I, Napoleon is a biography of a young Corsican who died leading troops on campaign, was executed by Robespierre during the Reign of Terror, was assassinated by bombing on the way to the opera, was overthrown on campaign in Russia, was shot while escaping from exile in Elba, died peacefully on the island of St. Helena in 1821. Released in 2024 through GMT Games, Ted Racer built a narrative engine that steams through Napoleon's life while you try to keep it on the rails. The core system is simple enough. Flip a card, roll a die, lay everything out on the conspiracy board for future reference, and delay the coup of Brumaire as long as you possibly can. I appreciate war games with that point of view. I, Napoleon, has a really interesting point of view from Ted about how unlikely this whole thing really is. Any given moment of history has a million prerequisites that lead up to it and could have gone 100 different ways. A lot of the war games that I have on Napoleon's life are really the designer talking about how unlikely a battle result might have been, or the forces that led to a particular campaign result. Whereas this one talks about how unlikely his whole life was, which is great. It flies by, too. It's a very fast-moving game. I've got a bunch of games of this where I die really early because I find it more interesting to push my luck than it is to really dig into exactly how many rerolls that I really need for the game. As a story game, I don't think I have anything else like it in the collection. As a Napoleonic game about the life, I mean, I have a couple of books, but I don't have anything that's this engaging and this interactive. And as a game of Ted playing around in Napoleonic era stuff, I really hope that he does more in that space because it's very interesting. But I'm really excited for what Ted does with the system and where it goes from here.
Hello there! For those of you who don't know me, I'm Patrick of Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials. In celebration of Homo Ludens' list of the top 10 war games of 2024, Fred has asked me to take a couple of minutes to introduce one of the contenders. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, know that this series is a cornerstone of my YouTube videos for the last 5 years. I'm speaking, of course, about the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War series. So, let me take a moment to put on my GCACW hat and introduce you to the latest game in this venerable operations level series of the American Civil War. In 2024, original series designer Joe Balkowski, alongside co-developer Chris Withers, released the 14th game in this series, Thunder on the Mississippi. This title contains 11 basic scenarios, from simple one-turn set-piece battles, common to all the titles, such as Champion Hill, multi-turn scenarios for more experienced players, and of course the full 70-turn Vicksburg campaign. I've had the pleasure of playing through each of the 11 basic scenarios twice with my partner in crime, Roger, and as of this recording, we are early into the beginning of our first play of the Vicksburg campaign. Stalwart fans of the GCACW series will find many new challenges in all of the scenarios as you play either the Union or the Confederates. The Union player will face the difficulties that Grant endured as he attempted to cross the river in force, move swiftly to threaten supply centers at Jackson, Mississippi, before then laying into siege at Vicksburg. The Confederate player must assemble his dwindling and scattered brigades from around the two-map area in hopes of using terrain features to slow down the powerful Union divisions as they approach. Thunder on the Mississippi also introduces a new terrain type, common to the lower Mississippi Valley, loess terrain. This sandy, uneven terrain affects movement and combat for players and requires new tactical thinking during gameplay. You will quickly discover the struggles of moving and fighting in southwestern Mississippi. I heartily agree with the decision to include Thunder on the Mississippi as one of the top 10 wargames for the Homo Ludens channel, and I want to thank Fred for asking me to introduce it to you.
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you and talking about Volume 1 in the Battles of Napoleon series, Eylau 1807, published by Sound of Drums in 2024. It was funded through a GameFound campaign, I believe. It's a grand tactical mini monster game, I would say. The first thing anyone says about this game, I'm going to just get out of the way quickly, it is amazingly produced. As a physical object, it's fantastic. The counters are thick. The art is beautiful. The map art especially is just, it takes your breath away the first time you see it. This really puts the art and the artistic quality of it first and foremost. I mean, the player aids are even mounted, which is wild. The core of the game is based on this sort of cube draw system. So you might have played games with chit draw, where you draw a chit from a cup each turn or each round to see who activates in these sort of grand tactical scale games. Blind Swords is a good example of them. In this, you're drawing cubes of different colours, so blue and green for France and Russia, respectively. And then you can take that cube and put it to any division, which is French if it's blue, or any division which is Russian if it's green. And I think that adds an interesting side to the decisions. You have a lot more freedom to activate who you want, but at the same time, if you activate the same person or the same division again and again and again, they get less and less effective. So you can really make that sort of last minute push or last minute effort, but you're rewarded for sort of spreading out those activations across a few divisions. And within this cube draw, you get these 2 red cubes that are put into the bag each round. And the red cubes, when they're drawn, that's what does the ranged combat. That's what triggers the ranged combat, which is just, I've not really seen that before. I'm sure it's been done before, maybe somewhere, but I've personally not seen it before. And it works really nicely in a game, especially of this scale, where you're not resolving this ranged combat every turn, and you wait until this red cube is drawn. You don't know when it's going to be drawn, although you have sort of an idea as you go along, like the red cube hasn't been drawn yet, when will it be drawn? That when you draw it, you do this sort of simultaneous combat, and that's so, I don't know, it feels quite nice, and you do get that feel of like the immersive narrative of having the red cube being drawn, and that's when all the rifles sort of start shooting, and that's when the smoke counters start coming onto the battlefield, and it just feels good. I'd say it takes maybe 20 hours to do the main sort of scenario in this, maybe 30 if it's your first time, although there are lots of smaller scenarios, and they are all focused on different vignettes in the battle. Like Murat, he had a big charge he's known for in this battle, so you can have a really cavalry focused game. I think that's quite a good solo game if you want to have a solo scenario. There's a small intro scenario which is lovely. I think it's a really interesting series that I want to get the next entries of. I think the next entry will have 2 battles in one box, and they'll be a bit smaller, which for some people will be really attractive. If you don't want to play La Bataille or any other sort of massive Napoleonic monster game, this is the best thing, like the next best thing to go for. It's really sort of the rules are slick now. There's minimal informational counters. The play is relatively quick when compared to something like Winter's Victory, which is of the same battle, which is maybe more of a glacial pace. Even though it's a fantastic game, it's just a lot slower, which is just a matter of taste, I guess. The simulation it's trying to achieve, whatever that means, is a lot more refined, maybe. But I think the level of simulation here is good. They've really done the research. The scenario book gives a lot of historical context, which is good. And I think the designer Uwe really backs up a lot of the claims that he's making in why he's made certain decisions and in the design itself. And I like it when I see that. Give it a go.
Hey, I'm Goat, and I want to tell you why I think that Tattered Flags Into the Whirlpool is one of the best new games of 2024. 1, it's got stars. Alright, look, your hexes, they're old, they're broke, they're busted. I, for one, welcome our new 8-way movement overlords, especially for Warfare, where maneuver and facing matter as much as they do in the ACW. And yes, I do understand that these stars are basically just squares, but they make facing really obvious, and that's cool. 2, the map. Look, it's pretty. Some of us play out in public, and it might not scare off newbies to the hobby, right? They're gonna see that, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is a cool map. I like this." It also makes elevation really obvious, and I like that too. 3, it's miniatures, but it's not. If you like the more beer and pretzel nature of a miniatures game, but you're not into the hobby of collecting, assembling, or painting miniatures, then this is a way to have your cake and to eat it too. It's more complex than your average miniatures game, but it's simpler than a high granularity hex and counter game. Last, battle cards. They add chaos and unpredictability to this weird miniatures and board game hybrid, and I'm all here for it. That's what I love about Tattered Flags Into the Whirlpool.
Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I want to give a very quick overview of one of my favorite games of the past year. That is War Story by Dave Neal and David Thompson. So the full title is War Story Occupied France, and in this game you are playing as SOE agents who are trying to resist the Nazis in, of course, occupied France. And the way this game works is it is divided into 3 missions, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure game, but it has aspects of it that make it what I think is the very best in this category to date. And so that's why I'm really, really excited to show it to you. So you have these mission books. There are 3 different missions in the game. I don't want to ruin any of them for you, so we're not going to look too far in here. But basically, they're numbered passages that you flip to depending on your choices in the game and how different skill checks have gone. So you won't, read the whole mission book from start to end. The game will kind of guide you to read different things, but you will make choices throughout the game. Your agents can absolutely get hurt and die. And I think what makes the game extra interesting is that there are skill tokens that you spend. So instead of rolling dice or, being guaranteed certain things, your characters have stats in different areas. And then you have skill tokens that offer a boost to those stat areas. But there's only a limited number of tokens. And once you spend them, you may not get any more. You don't really know when you're going to get more tokens. And so basically you have to decide how all in you're going to go on choices in the game without knowing what other things may still lie ahead. And that's what makes the gameplay extra fun, because you are really, really taking on some risks, and you truly do not know how the story will come out. So you really experience some intense drama as you play, and I think that's what makes it so great. So I truly recommend War Story Occupied France. Even if you think you don't like story games, this one is best in show, and it feels different from any of the other ones I've ever played. So that's it. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is David. Today we're talking about Rebel Fury and what I like about it. This game is from GMT. It is designed by Mark Herman. It is an American Civil War game. It is hex and counter. So get your tweezers and your plexiglass. No, you don't need any of those things because this is a fantastic introductory package for Hex Encounter. If it's not something you've ever played before, if it's something that you've always wanted to try, this game I think retails for about $40, $35 to $45, somewhere in there. And it has 6 battles in the box, which is awesome. 3 maps, each one is double-sided. So you can even play this game with 2 setups going on at the same time. You and a friend could have one map going on, 2 other friends could be sitting next to you and have another map going on, and there are counters enough in the box to do all of that. So what does it do? Rebel Fury emphasizes the movement aspects of the American Civil War, roads, the importance of getting there first, the importance of seizing critical intersections, and then making low odds attacks and hoping for the best. The combat system in this game can be brutal. It's a little bit hard for the attacker, as was historical. But this game is really about movement. It does a weird thing where you can continue to move a piece until the end of that turn, until you both pass, the other player and yourself. Most Hex Encounter games, I move a unit, it's done for that turn. This game has more of a chess-like feel. I move this unit over here. That causes you to have a little bit of a reaction. Do I need to investigate that area? Do I need to devote energies to that area? Should I respond to that? Should I let it slide? Let's say I let it slide and I decide to move a piece over on another part of the field. Well, maybe my opponent then moves that first piece again, and now he's putting continual tension on that area, and it's escalating. So this game is really about the approach to battle. It's about the way armies feel each other out and the way that certain areas become centers of gravity for the combat that then ensues. Each game is only about 60 to 90 minutes, which is great. We've got Fredericksburg, which is really only solo. I wouldn't recommend it as a multiplayer, but it's a good way to learn the system. Chancellorsville, Chickamauga, Chattanooga, the Wilderness, Spotsylvania Courthouse, and there's another game upcoming in this series, Army of the Potomac, that will be out soon. If you're at all interested in Civil War, if you want to try a Hex Encounter game and they always seem overwhelming and crazy, give this one a shot, Rebel Fury. It's a good game, and enjoy your games. Enjoy playing with them. Enjoy playing with your friends. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Sam, and I am from Lord of the Board, and I am so happy that Fred asked me to present Vijaya Nagara to you guys today. This is actually one of my favorite games on this list, so I'm just really happy to be here. Vijaya Nagara is a board game that is bringing an overlooked empire to life. History is often told through the lens of dominant powers, leaving many fascinating civilizations in the shadows. Vijaya Nagara, the Deccan Empire of medieval India, a historical board game from GMT Games, brings to the table an era that is rarely explored in gaming. Now, this is a game in the Irregular Conflict series, so this is coin adjacent for sure. It is mostly plays like a coin game, and this game is really good because it has a really nice simplified battle system. It's 3-player only, but it's really strong 3-player game, but it's really easy to get to the table as opposed to some of the other kind of coin simulation war games. Players will be taking on asymmetric factions. You'll either play the Vijayanagara Empire, the Bahmani, or the Delhi Sultanate. And one thing that I like about the framework of this is that the Bahmani and the Vijayanagara will actually work pretty similar, but the Delhi Sultanate has a pretty different way of playing the game. They're going to be kind of starting ahead and trying to not lose as much to the other two factions. So it kind of promotes those other two working together at first, and then one of them is going to have to rise in the end. Expanding historical narratives in board gaming by bringing the Vijayanagara Empire to the forefront is amazing. This is going to be a good introduction to players and help them learn lesser known yet deeply influential parts of history. For players and history enthusiasts alike, Vijayanagara is more than just a game. It is an invitation to explore a forgotten empire and reconsider the narratives that shape our understanding of the past.
1812, Napoleon's Fateful March, designed by Brian Asklev, was one of my favorite games in 2024. It's an operational game about Napoleon's invasion of Russia for 2 players. The design features hidden orders, represented by blocks, hidden armies behind screens for each general, event cards played to affect battles, model artillery, and expand the number of orders each player can place in a round. System has layers, but none of them are too complex. Dynamics of each game presents fresh problems for players to solve. The attrition system presents the French with some tough choices regarding when to concentrate forces, how tight to keep supply lines, and proves to be really punishing over the course of the campaign. Each general has different abilities. Each side has a unique deck of event cards. All the asymmetry is baked into the cards, geography, and incentives, and it keeps the rules manageable while making both sides pretty engaging to play. Combat system inflicts losses based on forces present plus an added result of a die, and I always appreciate systems that take into account what players bring to battle. It can be really frustrating or annoying to play a game where a die result allows a fishing boat to sink a destroyer or something. It's kind of silly and nonsensical. So in summation, I've enjoyed my plays of this game. Every strategy that works feels situational, and every plan that fails feels like an indictment on my grasp of the game. And I absolutely love that. And I love this.
Pax Penning, game design by Matilda Simonson, graphic design by David Masnato, visual poem adapted from the rulebook by Luis Aguas Vivas. Between the Viking Age, the Middle Age, and Sigtuna, Olive, the first Christian king of Sweden, compensates for his weaknesses. Players determine his power play, cooperation, or condemnation. Pax Penning is lost history, the transition between evidence and written record, one die roll at a time. The author knows that sources are forever incomplete. Currency and runestones tell us much. Movement and negotiation sketch a path. Those who knew more are long gone. Dust of the planet. 21 coins, pennings for the king, and blanks from the world. Blanks are blanks. Where Pax dies, lies by omission. Don't let fascists fill them in.
A Jest of Robin Hood is not just my favourite historical game of 2024, it's my favourite 2-player game of all time. One big advantage Jest has over some other games I can think of is that it's fairly simple to teach, so I've been able to play it with friends who won't sit through a long introduction. The game comes with excellent player rates, so players can easily see what options they have and exactly what they do. And the rules are generally easy to understand and remember because the game is so thoroughly thematic. And the cards have little mini-stories on them that really connect to the traditional Robin Hood stories. My love of Robin Hood may be congenital. This is a photo of my dad. And one of the things I like about the game is the way it takes the theme seriously and really engages with the stories. The documentation, which is generally excellent, gives you background notes for every event card, and historical articles discussing the way Robin Hood tales have been used and changed over time. It also gives you helpful hints for future reading. As for the gameplay itself, it's really strategic and tense. You always have to think several moves ahead, timing your actions well, budgeting for them, gambling on what your opponent will do and what cards come next. It's a very well balanced game too. Of course there are other exciting games in this list, but if you want a final reason for preferring Jest and the Robin Hood theme alone doesn't do it for you, I'd say just look at the board and these lovely cards. Look at them. Number 1 game of the year right there.
Get your bread set, get your bread set, get your bread set. We're on a mad one. Get your bread set, get your bread set, get your bread set. We're on a mad one. Get your bread set, get your bread set, get your bread set. We're on a mad one. Get your bread set, get your bread set, get your bread set. We're on a mad one. Shaking shock and things are getting crusty. Arlene or McClay and she's getting touchy. Must be just my gal or the youth, cause she whispered in my ear, I like the beach.